Hi, this is Kendra from Pencil and Pigment, and welcome to Vlogoween Day 31. It's the last day. It's the very last day, so I've pulled out as many colors as I think I'm gonna need. I know, a lot of these are getting super teeny. Have you seen my purple? Anyway, I'm gonna put my sepia in here because it's just so small. Today's bird is going to be the northern spotted owl. And I'm doing this baby because, one, I love owls, and I've drawn a couple already like owls this year because I love them so much. But the northern spotted is special. It's special because it is endangered, and it's special because it lives where I live. Northern spotted owls like old growth forests with trees that are hundreds of years old that are super, super tall. And guess where I live? I live in a forest that has old growth trees that are hundreds of years old. Where I live is absolutely beautiful, and the conversation of protecting the northern spotted owl is a conversation that happens a lot in our local news. And I'm not sure if you guys are getting all the news that I'm getting, so I thought I would share some things. If you were interested in knowing a little bit more about this sweet bird. Now, I've been drawing like profiles of birds, but I think because owls can twist their head so far around, I'm gonna do a side view with the head twisted, otherwise it's gonna look weird. Like, I can throw up a picture of what an owl looks like to the side without its head turned, and it doesn't look correct. It looks really strange. It doesn't really look like an owl. I mean, it's fun, but I don't think it looks very owl-ish. Anyway, I love northern spotted owls. Now, they were marked as threatened in 1990. If you're not familiar with this system of tracking species that are vulnerable, it goes vulnerable, threatened, endangered, critically endangered. And it's a way for the government, it's a way for people, it's a way for conservationists to get the word out, to get steps put in place to protect these animals because they need protection. That's what the labeling system does. It lets folks know, like, we need to step up and try and save stuff. I mean, it hasn't always worked. You can, when we talk about rhinos and stuff, like Sudan was the last male northern white rhino, and the only northern white rhinos that are left are all female. So it doesn't always work in saving an entire species, but it does bring attention. So what's the problem? The problem with this owl is, one, how very specifically it needs it to build its nests. It can only do really tall old growth trees. The lumber logging community is a thing where I live. We have a bunch of protected forests, don't get me wrong, we have a bunch, but we also have logging where I live too, where the area isn't protected and people need that wood. Think of, you know, that huge tree that gets put in Times Square in New York City every Christmas, that really huge tree that they cut and it has to travel to New York. Many years that tree is from where I live. They cut it down from where I live. I live where the trees are, like the legit, we call them legitimate trees because they're bigger than anything you've ever seen. Those are the trees I live with. Where the movie Jurassic Park was filmed. Gosh, A Wrinkle in Time, that movie, part of that was filmed where I live. The forest sections. Star Wars. What was the last one with the Ewoks? That one, where the Ewoks were, that was filmed where I live. I live in a forest by the beach, and it's beautiful, and there's a lot of things that go into that. There's a lot of things that we as a community in this forest have control over, and a lot of things we don't have control over. So while we have a bunch of protected forests and a bunch of protected areas, again, there's still logging, which cripples the homes of these birds. These birds don't have a lot of options. They can't just build nests in shorter, younger trees. They don't do that. That's not a thing they compromise on. I love birds, but birds are like, they don't compromise like that. The other problem is we have an invasive owl. I'm going to throw a picture up so you can see them side by side. See a northern spotted owl versus what's called a barred owl. Now, a barred owl is not from around these parts, and they're beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I love all owls. I really, really do. But they're not from here. And they don't have the same problem that the northern spotted owl has. They don't need to build a nest in a really high tree. This is almost too short for my extender, for my pencil holder. I need to put it in here. I need more stability in my life. So because they don't need those tall trees, they've moved in and taken over a lot of the area. And they're pushing the northern spotted owl out. And by out, I mean just to extinction, because there's really nowhere else for them to go. They need the tall trees, and there aren't tall trees like that just anywhere. You can't find 500-year-old trees just anywhere you look. So, and I mean, 500 is pretty extreme. Like, they would do a 150-year-old tree, 200-year-old tree. Like, they're fine with that. But they have to be tall, and they have to be older. So, because of logging, because of the barred owl encroaching on their space, they're literally going extinct. Now, in 2020, this is where I don't know if you guys, like, get all the bird news. I feel like a reporter. In 2020, folks sued the government, and I love them so much. I can get the names of the folks that, like, they were wildlife advocates, and they filed a complaint against the federal government in the court against the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services for failing to, like, take multiple actions required by the Endangered Species Act to protect the northern spotted owl. So, in 2015, the northern spotted owl was uplisted from threatened to endangered because, let's just be for real, they're endangered. And not enough action has been taken to try and conserve them. So the organizations that are filing all these complaints and doing all this stuff, the Environmental Protection Information Center, Cascadia Wildlands, Conservation Northwest, Klamath Forest Alliance, Klamath Siskiyou Wildlife Center, Oregon Wild, and Audubon Society of Portland are going after folks because they're not protecting these owls enough. Like, they're just not. So that happened in 2020. That hit our news and let us know that the numbers are still dropping and folks are sitting around and they're not doing anything. And we can't be having that. We can't have folks just sit around and do nothing while these beautiful owls are going extinct. So it becomes kind of tricky because it's like, well, what can I do? I mean, I live where they live. So, and I don't know how many of you who are from, like, watching my channel live where I live. I don't assume it's very many of you. Please don't say where you live. The internet's a wild west, so, you know, kind of keep it private. But things you can do if you want to help out owls, or the northern spotted owl specifically. So having nets outside is really dangerous for large birds, for owls. Please don't have netting outside. I get, like, trying to protect your berries from birds, but be real mindful of how that's presented and how you set that up if you're trying to protect your blueberry crop or something. We didn't even realize we had netting in our backyard, like around sort of a picket fence situation. Don't ask, it's weird. Our backyard's kind of unique. And we had just like started doing renovations in the backyard and removing stuff and cleaning it up. And our dog had something in her mouth, and she literally pulled a bird out of the netting that was trapped and dropped it on the ground. And she saved a little bird's life. So yay for our dog. But yeah, netting can be really, really dangerous. The other thing is, like, be mindful of your pet cats. And I don't want to say, like, punish one animal to the extent to protect another, but like having outdoor cats, be mindful of their situation. It is really dangerous where I live to have outdoor cats. Unless your outdoor cat is an extreme fighter. And I mean that in every sense of the word. Like, your cat needs to be able to hold its own to live where I live. Otherwise, it's not going to live. So most folks don't let, ooh, I have stuff all over my hands. Most folks don't let their cats outside because of the bears and the large animals walking around. And the cats that are outside are rugged. So we have this policy where if, like, we find a kitten anywhere, we have to take it. We have to take it. And we can't let it, like, walk around, or it just won't exist anymore. So being mindful of, if you have a pet cat that is voracious, if it's a bird hunter anyway, that can be really detrimental to the bird population, especially if you have threatened or endangered birds where you live. So put away your nets, be mindful of your cats. Install window insect screens. Make sure your windows have things on them. Sometimes birds fly into windows that are really, really clean and they can't tell. Put like have hanging reflector things. Put window screens for insects stuff up. You don't want birds flying into your windows really hard. Like, that'll kill them. I love birds, but they have the brain of a bird, so they kind of need protection from themselves if they can't, if your glass is too clean and stuff. So be careful of your windows. You can donate to organizations that are protecting owls if you have the financial means. If you do not have the financial means, let someone else know that does have the financial means, that loves birds. You know, the holidays are coming up, and sometimes it's really nice to have a gift that keeps on giving. Sometimes the things that we actually need aren't things, and donating in someone's name to a wildlife organization for an animal they really, really love is a really, really thoughtful gift that I recommend. A lot of people really love that when you donate to a cause of their favorite animal. It shows that you're paying attention to the things they love, that you care about what they love, and then you want that to be around a little while longer. You want that to keep existing for them. It's a very thoughtful, kind gift. The other thing you can do, it doesn't work with the northern spotted owl, again, because they have to have the old big trees, but you can build owl boxes. I will look and see if I can find free owl box plans. Sometimes carpenters, out of the goodness of their heart, will post plans and instructions on how to build certain things like bat boxes, but you can build an owl box, and you can get your community together and build some owl boxes to encourage places for your owls to have some safe spaces. Again, northern spotted have to have it super high up, and I don't know anybody with a ladder that tall, so it doesn't really work for the northern spotted. But for owls in general that you want to protect and you want to care for, owl boxes is a great way to do that. And again, I will look and see if I can find any carpentry instructions online. And I'll post that in the description box. I might be able to find, if you are really interested in bats, like bat box instructions. But those, you have to, I know about bat boxes more than I know about owl boxes. And I know with bat boxes, they have to be a certain height, they have to face certain directions, and then they have to be a certain color for warmth. So you have to paint your your bat box, like black if it's super colder where you live, to keep it warm. There's so much to know in the world. I know, and I want you to know it, and I'm here for you knowing it. So, these sweet babies, my community is really like mindful and interested in the protection of them because of, you know, they're here. Have I seen one? Yes. Our zoo has one. Our zoo has one that has one eye, and that's why our zoo has it. It is a one-eyed owl they found that was injured, that can't be released back into the wild. It's a very sweet owl. Every time I go see it, it's resting and relaxing and living its best life. At some point, I will do a video where I take you on tour to my zoo so you can see some of the cool birds. My zoo has some beautiful birds. Like, I'm not gonna lie, but they've just gone through like a huge thing with the avian flu. So a huge section of the birds was closed off, especially where the scarlet ibises are. And I really want to show you a scarlet ibis in person because their colors are unreal. But when we can do that, I want to take you to do that with me. Come with me to the zoo. We'll hang out and look at birds together. Yeah, northern spotted owl babies. Just babies. I love them. I love them so much. And it's really hard sometimes when it comes to politics and politicians and trying to get the attention of folks with all the things going on in the world. And then you're like, hey, remember this bird we were talking about years ago? Yeah, it still needs your assistance. Yeah, can you assist? It still needs that from you. So that's where we're at. You know, if you want me to keep you abreast of the situation every time there's local news about them, I totally could. Like, we could have bird news while we draw a bird together. That'd be hilarious. I find the whole thing fascinating because it's like all these different environmental organizations going after the government, trying to get more local assistance, trying to get more funding, trying to get more people to do more things to protect more areas. And it's just, it's no easy task. And these birds are so freaking beautiful that I can't. Like, what do you do? These birds are so pretty. So, I just wanted to fill you in on some of the little things about this owl that I know from personal experience, and some things that, because we can, sometimes it's really hard to like sit there and read like, okay, so these birds are endangered, and it gets really sad and we want to do something and it just doesn't feel like there's enough we can do. So just, you know, nets, cats, donation, owl boxes. There are some little things that can be done within our means, within our capability, and not all of them cost money. Like, it doesn't cost money to bring your cat inside or just watch your cat when your cat is outside, like supervise your cat. Our cats are indoor. Again, that's for their protection, but one of them wouldn't go outside anyway. Like, you couldn't pay her enough to go outside. She's like, no, I know who feeds me, and I know where that food comes from, and I'm not leaving. You couldn't pay me. The other one, I don't know. She just wants to break free. And we tell her all the time, you're not meant for the outdoors, because they're not hunters. So when we first moved to this area, back in January of 2018, we were renting a house because we weren't sure what neighborhood we wanted to live in, like where we wanted to buy our house. Like, the only thing you can't change when you buy a house is location. So we wanted to make sure that we rented for a while till we figured out what location we liked the best. And where we were living was really close to the beach. Like I've never lived that close to the beach before in my life. It was like less than 3 miles to the beach, and you'd open the door and you wouldn't know it, but the sand was slowly blowing in. Like we just had sand freaking everywhere. Like the vacuuming was just, it was unreal. Anyway, the backyard had gophers, and we would have raptors just sit on the fence. Oh man. I don't know where those photos are, but because of all the gophers in the backyard, the raptors would come and they would just wait and they'd sit on the fence. But every once in a while, like we'd let our cats go outside to explore. It was a very small backyard. It wasn't huge. And I'd walk around with them and they'd eat grass and they'd walk around and they would see, like, because gophers are actually really tiny. Like they're not big. Well, the ones where we live are just, they're super teensy and really, really cute. Oh my God, they're so cute. Okay, so you should know this about me. I kind of find all animals cute. Like it's a thing. Unless I think they're like badass or just, like I'm enamored. But most animals I find cute. So I apologize if rodents aren't your deal. But I love them. I love them all. I can't not. So anyway. The gophers are absolutely adorable. And one day our cats were outside and they were like following something that was popping up through different holes, and they were just like staring down at it. And then before you knew it, one of the gophers backed out of the hole literally onto our cat's foot, like while both cats were standing there, and both our cats jumped back because they were so startled and so terrified. And then just like one of those like really bad like cartoon things where like the gopher turns around really slowly and then realizes like there's a cat behind it. It did that and was like, ah, and then tried to dig faster. And I was so worried the gopher was going to get a heart attack or something because he looked so terrified. But like he started digging slower because our cats were just like watching him like, wow, he can really dig. That's something. Look at that. Our cats didn't do anything. Our cats are overfed city cats. And we just don't let them outside anymore because where we live now, like we have bears and we have, we haven't had mountain lions in our backyard. I will say that. They have not been in our backyard that I know about. And I don't think we have any mountain lions in our backyard. But there are mountain lions nearby. Ish, like they're in our area. They're definitely in our area, and we have some different like hiking trail areas. And when the mountain lion shows up, it just hits our news like, hey, just so you know, the mountain lion's back. Maybe not hike this area this weekend. If you're from the city, that sounds like terrifying, but where I live, like people here are so rugged that it's like not a thing. It's just not a thing. When we first moved, I was like driving the kids to school. We were doing public school for a bit. And on the radio, it was like, hey, if you're at bus stop such and such, or you're headed to bus stop such and such, please just keep walking and go to the next one. The mountain lion's there, and you probably don't want to sit and wait with her. I was like, are you serious? You can't say it like that. Apparently you can. You can be all nonchalant about it. We can share the space, apparently. So they don't... Where I live, people don't, like, demand that mountain lions get moved, removed, tranked, and relocated. Like, that's not a thing where I live. Where I live, if the mountain lion's there, you just leave it be and you go do something else. We share this space because it's a forest, because there's homes in the forest. Something else I should probably denote is that where I live, there's a huge housing shortage because there just aren't a lot of places to keep building homes. So it is a huge housing shortage where I live. And like certain cities locally where I live are supposed to be building like 200 something homes a year extra because of influx, migration, population, people moving around, things like that. And where I live, they're building like 10 homes a year, maybe. So there's very much a housing shortage issue. but there's just nowhere to build homes because of the protected forests and stuff. And so we realize this town has been, or this city has been around for, you know, over 100 years, and it's not going anywhere is what I'm saying. So the animals aren't going anywhere either, and the community doesn't expect them to, and it doesn't demand that they do. They've learned to share this space. And so, like, if you're not from around here, and a lot of people come here on vacation because they want to see these amazing, beautiful, tall trees, and they want to go to the beach because it's nice and cool here all year round, it can be a little jarring how nonchalant people are about things that will kill you. So it takes a little getting used to, just because, like, hey, leave the sharks alone. Or just people just like swimming with the sharks. Like, people don't have a problem surfing or swimming with the sharks here. They just kind of let them swim past and then keep doing their thing. It's not an issue. So for vacationers, that can be quite the surprise, which always makes me laugh. Because we just, you know, we've lived here, I don't know, 5, 6 years. I have no idea. 18. And there's still some things once in a while that I'm like, man, will I ever get used to this? Because we lived in a huge major metropolitan city, like a massive city, for 37 years, like our entire lives. And then we moved to this area that's a forest and wilderness and wildness and ruggedness, and the people here are just lovely, but it's like everything's so different. The pace of life is different. The attitude is different. The situations and how the community handles certain things is so different. Because it's a smaller community, people wear lots and lots of different hats. So you get different opportunities that you wouldn't get in a large city, where you can volunteer and learn how to do all kinds of unique stuff. We did tons of volunteer work we stopped right when COVID hit. So right when we moved, for about 2 years, 18, 19, and then, yeah, a little over 2 years, we did a bunch of volunteer stuff that we wouldn't have normally got to do in the city we lived in before. Because there's just so many people, and everything could be a job. And here there just isn't like money like that. It's just everything's so different. So we get to giggling sometimes because, like, it's not weird to see a bear in our backyard, like 10 feet from our door. Like, it's just not weird. And we coexist, and we just make sure, like, when it's really, really hot out, that we put a fresh, huge, clean bowl of water. And by hot, I mean like over 65 degrees. I don't know what that is for everybody else. I'll put it on the screen so it's translated. But anything over that, like, we have a huge bowl of water we put out that's massive, and we clean it and make sure that's fresh every day, so the animals that come through have clean, fresh water every day. You know, the raccoons, the possums, the skunks, the bear, the deer, they're going to go through our backyard anyway. We just want to make sure that, you know, they have, like, access to clean water. And that's something that we can control and we can have. It's why we have such a huge dog. We have a massive dog. And she keeps them out of our yard during the day when the kids are playing. That's her, like, job, is to sound threatening but not be threatening, and her bark just does the job. It keeps big animals away, and that ensures that the bear doesn't walk up, and, like, we don't want a situation. We don't want any situation where anybody gets hurt, where our kids get hurt, where an animal can get hurt. Like, we're just constantly trying to be mindful and set a good example that the community has laid out before us, that we're just trying to make sure that we fit in with that whole thing. So, to live in a forest life. Forest life is a little different than our beach life. Like, we had sand. I opened the garage door. I was working on a community project. I was painting a huge thing. I know. I was hand lettering a huge thing. Hand lettering calligraphy takes forever. But it took me like 2 weeks to do this public sign for the community. And I had the garage door open because it was exterior house paint. And when you have signs by the ocean, the salt air really, really tends to like strip the protective like urethanes and sealants and stuff and wear down paint. So I had some pretty nasty paint I was painting with to make sure that it could withstand the elements, and I wanted to be able to breathe. I like being able to do art projects, especially if I'm allowed to breathe. And with the garage door open, the sand was coming in, and I didn't, like, it's so subtle when you live that close to the beach, you don't realize. And I was looking in my paint, like on the surface, and I started to feel like little tiny textural bumps. And I realized that that was all bits of sand. And so there's sand painted into that sign. Nobody cares. You can't tell. But I knew, and I was just kind of laughing. I'm like, wow, living this close to the beach, all major art projects that you go to do, they're going to have sand in them, which is kind of hilarious. If you ask me, I think it's hilarious. But some people don't like sand. I hear you. I see you. Sand is absolutely brutal for cameras. So taking your camera to the beach, I have like a bag. I always have my camera in sort of a weatherproof, waterproof bag. And when I go to take pictures of the kids or interesting birds on the beach or whatever is going on, we have some really cool crows that go to the beach, and sometimes there's beach cows. Some of the farmers, like, their cows go to the beach. Like, there's just a whole bunch of stuff where I live. And I want to take pictures of people doing really cool stuff in the water. But gosh, is it really, really hard on cameras. It's really hard on cameras and equipment. So just things to be mindful of, especially when the high winds pick up in June. June's sort of when the rain stops and the winds pick up. There's always something, you know what I mean? Does it look like an owl yet? It's starting to, like a little bit. It's starting to become an owl baby. But yeah, the northern spotted owl. I mean, the barred owl is beautiful. Like, don't get me wrong. I love how the barred owl looks. It is a beautiful owl. It's just not from around here. Like, you need to go back. You need to go back home. You're not from here, and you're encroaching, and it's creating problems. And we won't be having any more problems than we're already having. So, I don't know. There's a solution in here somewhere. We just gotta get more folks' attention, I guess. Guess is the way to do it. So yeah, the head's going to be facing forward, but it's still going to be to the side. I thought about doing an owl baby, like an owlet. Because they look just like a fun little cotton ball, like a weird little Q-tip. Like, I love them. I don't know what to tell you. I just really love them. They have a different connotation in indigenous societies, so you may want to look that up. Like, they're owls or something completely else in some indigenous cultures. But oh, an owlet to the side still looks like a wet cotton ball, and you can't see a beak or eyes or anything. It just looks like I'm drawing a weird gray fluff. So I opted not to draw that because that wouldn't have helped. I mean, it would have been funny, and I would have had to explain it to you. And if I have to explain to you what I'm drawing, that's not what I set out to do. I wasn't trying to explain stuff to you. It should be obvious. I'm drawing birds. So maybe another time I'll do like something absolutely wacky. I don't know. There's still a couple months left in this year for me to like throw something strange in. So we'll see if I feel like doing a bird in November. We'll see if I still feel like doing that and having more of that. I'm not sure. Because 31 in a row. Like, it's fun, but I've been itching for more portraits. I have, I'm not gonna lie, I love doing portraits. People are so beautiful. People, you have no idea how beautiful you are. I know, I'm supposed to be talking about birds, aren't I? I can't help it. I think I may even painted a rock this year. I don't know what I've done. I'll have to look in my Instagram. My Instagram I use as sort of a daily journal of what I've created, because I can't keep track of any of the stuff I do when I get down to October and I'm like, I couldn't tell you what I did in February to save my life. So I know I need to put this in an extender. At this point I might need a second extender. I don't know. Gosh, aren't owls gorgeous? I don't know what it is about them. They're so majestic. Of course, I feel that way about a lot of birds. I feel that way about a lot of animals. I happen to find the Honduras bat very majestic as well. And since it's Halloween, I don't feel bad talking a little bit about bats because I love them too. I love them a lot. We have them. When we first moved here, our daughter was like, black butterfly, you know, because they come out at dusk out of our trees. And we're like, nope, that's not a black butterfly. That's a bat. Our zoo has bat houses and stuff. But you have to put them really, really tall. I think a bat house has to be like 20 feet up. It has to be facing north. And for where we live, it would have to be painted either dark brown or almost black for warmth. So, things to keep track of. Especially if you want to encourage like different things in your yard. I mean, you can just do like a butterfly puddler. You know, like a bird bath where you put marbles in or rocks in so the water isn't very deep, and then more insects will come and get water, especially if you're doing like planting pollinators, things that really attract pollinators. Sunflowers are a great flower to plant. They're one of our favorites. They attract a lot of pollinators, and then if you have a water source of some form where they can dip in a little bit and get some water, they will stay around a little longer, especially the beneficial ones, you know. So I'm here for it. That's what I'm saying. But you can plant things that attract more butterflies and stuff. If you'd rather have more butterflies in your yard than birds. I mean, we have a bird feeder. We don't do a hummingbird feeder anymore. We used to where we lived. Where we lived had really extreme heat, so we had to change it out almost every day. But where we live now, the ants are a problem, and other wildlife is a problem. We try not to have sugar just kicking it, hanging from our house. That's just inviting a set of problems we don't want to have. So we don't do a hummingbird feeder anymore. But we have a regular one. And the birds love it and fight over it and do weird things. Plus we have a couple trees that have different berries and things that the birds fight over. So that's the thing. That's the whole situation certain times of the year. But it's fine. It is what it is. I mean, his face is starting to come together. Like, not all of it, but part of it. It's going to take me a while. I mean, some of these things just aren't as quick as you'd think they'd be. But with all the little feathers that make up the patterning in an owl's face, it just takes time. And then you have to layer on the different highlights and the different shadows to make sure it's color matched and looking the way it should look. Like, you really want your owl to look like an owl. Like, that's the whole point here. So depending on what owl you're doing, snowy owls are a lot of fun. If you're interested in working in background work or context, doing an owl that has more white looks great on a colored background. So snowy owl. I mean, there's teeny tiny owls, there's big, you know, the great horned. Like, there's just some really fascinating species of owl for those that want to deep dive into that. And you can look up what you have locally in your search engine and see if there's a way to attract them to your house. Now, just because you build an owl box and you put it in your yard and you know you have owls in your area, doesn't mean an owl's going to move in. It can take years for an owl to figure out you have that box for them to move in and take advantage of that. So it's also a lesson in patience. They will get there. It just could take quite a while. So be patient. It's not like you can send owls an email and be like, hey, built you a box, come here. They don't have that. So it's the same with bats. Bats move quicker than owls when it comes to those types of things, but just something to be mindful of in understanding that great things take time. And being able to provide a housing source for amazing birds is a great thing. So I will look for resources and put them in the description box. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this series on birds. This was a ton of fun. It was a lot of work, but it was a ton of fun. I plan on doing this again next year, but I'll probably do watercolor. And maybe we'll do different animals. I don't know. I do love birds, and everybody loves birds. And I have a whole folder of birds I never got to draw that I still have never drawn. So we'll get there. So my next video will be up Sunday, and I'm going back up to weekly uploads unless I get a wild hair like I did for the month of October, and then we can do a different project. But I enjoy doing projects with you and teaching you things and experimenting. So if you have questions about anything or drawing anything, or like how you should go about figuring out how to draw or create something, you can send me an email anytime you want, pencilandpigment@gmail.com. You can send me a message on Instagram, on Twitter, anywhere you can find me. You could send me a message and ask me a question about something, and I will do my best to answer with as much information as I have. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.